What's up, guys? It's JZNES back again. Today, we begin it all anew with Dragon Quest II. Now, Dragon Quest II, the sequel to Dragon Quest I, obviously. Now we're talking about Dragon Warrior 2 for the Game Boy there, which is definitively, in my opinion, the best version of the game. I love the Game Boy versions the most because I grew up with them and whatnot. And very similar to Dragon Quest 1. Look at him, he's just clawing his way into the video. Very similar to Dragon Quest 1. Obviously, I had the cartridge with Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Here's my original box. Here's my original cartridge here. I have it in this. It's been retired now for the time being because, unfortunately, I'll just get into it right away. I didn't get to beat this game for like the 14th bazillionth time. Not really. It's like I played it on iOS and I never got around to beating it there either on my iPad. And I played it here on the Game Boy Color. This is one I haven't beat quite as many times as the first one. I always seem to manage to finish the first one somehow, but the second one I've only ever beaten like once or maybe twice, you know. It's been very, very few times I've beaten the second one. But anyway, this time around, my save battery for Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 finally took a shit right when I was on the final dungeon. Well, I was on the last cave before the final dungeon. I mean, the final dungeon isn't really even a dungeon, it's just like you fight a bunch of mini-bosses and you're in a castle, and yeah, it's not that difficult though, you know, compared to the cave before, which is the really difficult part, because that place is just a gauntlet of shit to get through, and then you make your arduous, like, climb through fucking Rhone there, to get to the Hargon's castle, and then there's spoilers for Dragon Quest II, there's a great reveal where you're actually in the castle from the start of the game, and you have to use this charm that you get in I think the cave there, the like volcano cave or whatever. You get a charm there, and you have to use that to dispel the fake, the illusion. But you can like stay at that inn and everything, and it's totally fine. A little side note, talk about a memory from when I was a kid here. Now, there's a certain inn in this game that, if you stay at it, it's the one actually nearest the entrance of Rhone, which is like kind of the final area of the game. And if you stay at this particular inn, the Prince of Middenhall, or whatever, I think that's what it's called in this game. Anyway, that prince, your second companion, which, yeah, you get party members in this game, which I'll talk about in a minute here, can fall ill, and there's world leaves in this game, which is all the Phoenix Down or the revival spell kind of item equivalent for Dragon Quest. And you usually typically only get one. In like Dragon Quest 8, you can kind of cheese it so where you can get a few of them or whatnot, and you need some of them for alchemy spells and whatnot, but different thing. Anyway, this is the first appearance of the world leaf, and you could only get it by going to this one specific tree on the overworld. And so, if you have the world leaf, and the world leaf is with the Prince of Middenhall, you can't revive him. And that's it. And the game's just kind of over at that point. And you're just fucked, because you can't get another world leaf. So you just have to either go on without him, or, like, reset, and just, like, reset your game, your save file or whatever, you know? So that's pretty fucked up. So that's a little thing that can happen there, particularly on the Game Boy Color version, I suppose. I don't know if that's how it works on the other ones too, but it's just interesting. It's a little thing that can happen there. Anyway, so Dragon Quest II is obviously a sequel in every capacity to Dragon Quest 1. They've expanded on everything. It's actually interesting because later on, you get the boat, which is something new in this game. You didn't even go past the one single continent in the original game, and you thought that was the whole world. But that one continent is now a condensed version of that continent. The story takes place 100 years later, and you're the descendants of Loto, once again, because I believe the previous protagonist was also a descendant of Loto. But I think you're like his descendant too, so you're like a descendant of him and a descendant of Loto, because the whole thing is like he takes the princess in the original game and then they like go off to new lands and like populate them or whatever. Isn't that the whole thing? So yeah, anyway, so this takes place 100 years after that, and this new ruler, Hargon, who's this new evil, baddie, you know, that's not the Draco Lord, but he's Hargon, so, you know, whatever. He comes around, and he takes over some stuff and destroys the princess God, what's her fucking place called? I don't remember. The princess of Moonbrook, that's what it is. The princess of Moonbrook destroys her kingdom, kills the king and like all the inhabitants, and you can go to a destroyed Moonbrook later, and actually you have to go there really later in the game to collect one of the seals, which I'll talk about in a bit here. But yeah, so it takes place later on. You set out on a quest to defeat Hargon, a dragon quest, if you will, to defeat Hargon. And the very first thing you're told is go seek your companions. There'll be 2 other descendants of Loto that you can go and seek out to help you on this journey. And so right away, this is already a big improvement, or not even just improvement, like expansion of the original single character format. Now you get to play as a single character for the first like kind of continent there, and you're chasing down the prince there, your cousin, who they always have random names. Mine were named, this time it was Drew and Gwen, I believe. But I've had Lynn before as the princess name, and I've had John as the prince name and whatnot. He's the Prince of Cannock, isn't that it? Where did I get Middenhall from? I think that's from the original or something. There's lots of confusing like name changes and stuff. Isn't that right? Or is Middenhall where you start? I thought that was Larissa Castle or whatever. No, Middenhall is where you're from. He's from Cannock. Yeah, okay. You're the Prince of Middenhall then. Forgive my stupidness there on that one, but yeah, everyone makes mistakes. This is probably one of the Dragon Quest games. Well, no, I can't say that. I did actually play this a lot as a kid. Particularly after beating Dragon Quest 1. It was another game where I played it a lot on long trips and on car rides and whatnot, but it's just, I don't have as many like into the long night memories with this one. I do remember kind of getting to the final area, like I remember that while I was it was kind of late into one night. We had gotten back from the races or something like that, and I remember just sitting there playing that and watching TV or whatever, trying to like get through the final that final dungeon there. But then I remember what I particularly remember is going through Rome, because it's a sort of a snowy area, so it looks it's very distinct from the rest of the game, which is just mostly the same old landscapes we've seen, the whole, you know, mountains and forests and stuff. So yeah, but the first area, and it's interesting, 'cause each time you get a new companion, there's a new overworld theme. So the first area of the game, you're just kind of by yourself, and so it's a lot like Dragon Quest 1, and then you do a bunch of quests, and you're kind of chasing around the Prince of Cannock, because he's going around doing all this stuff and trying to find you and whatnot as well. And then eventually you get him, and then you take him to go get the silver key in this cave, and then you guys leave the continent that you're on through this long cave, and you go seeking out the princess of Moonbrook. And the princess, actually, you find out once you get onto the next continent, is in this town, but she's been turned into a dog, and you get these. Somebody says that, like, I think it's in the it's at the Moonbrook there. If you go there, they'll tell you that she's been turned into a dog, and you have to go find this mirror, which is hidden in like some of the hurtful tiles, like the red like tiles, like from the original game that would harm you as you walked over them. But it's hidden there in like I think it's called the like swamp area is what those tiles are. But it's hidden there, like kind of randomly, not randomly, but it's kind of over in a certain like little random area there on the continent, and you have to, you know, kind of like finding Lodo's armor or whatever. You have to like look beneath your foot, underfoot or whatever, which is the weirdest way to put that. But anyway, you look underfoot and you find it, and you find this mirror. So then you have to take the mirror, and then you go reflect the mirror against this dog in this town that you were just in on the second continent there. Then you find the princess. Then you have your full party, and then there's a new overworld theme again, which is interesting. So yeah, you yourself never learn any spells or whatever. You're basically just a warrior class, and then the other two are sort of, your Canuck guy is kind of like let's say like a paladin or something to that effect, where he has healing spells, but he also hits hard like you do. Maybe not as hard as you do, but he does hit hard as well. But he's a bit of a glass cannon, so to speak. There's a meme about him always being in the coffin or whatever because he dies too easily or whatnot. But I don't know specifically if that's true from my experience there. But you know, like, yeah. I will say that, well, and then the princess is kind of your mage character, almost like a sage character, because she has a lot of like magic and also healing spells. She has all the best healing spells as well. But the prince is no slouch when it comes to healing spells, and I like that that they both kind of have it, and they've greatly expanded upon the magic in this game. You know, in the first game it was pretty basic stuff, but here they have increase, which will increase your defense, and they have defense, which is not a great title for that because it makes you think it does what increase does, but it actually lowers the defense. So these spells will be later known as Kabuff and Kazap, or you know, buff and sap, which sap takes away, you know, defense and whatnot from the enemy. So, and I didn't even really use any of that because I didn't know that that's what those spells do, because I thought they did something completely different there. But I did watch a guy beat the game, obviously, because I lost my save file because of the battery or whatnot, so I wanted to watch the ending just so I could have a good remembrance of what happened there. Which really sucks, because I do want to kind of beat all of these games again to make like a full opinion and a review, and it just doesn't feel as right to do it like this. But I'm not going to play the game through 100% again to just to review it or whatnot. I mean, what am I supposed to do, you know? That's just how it's got to work, so it's unfortunate. Hopefully my 3 battery doesn't run out before I finish that game, so that would really suck. And yeah, I've got a whole story about Dragon Quest 3 when we get to that one. So anyway, so you kind of get your full party there, and then you kind of start making a quest around to you kind of have to trek around that whole second continent there to get to a tower, essentially, which if you have this cape, which I think you get in the tower. Do you get the cape in the tower? Pretty sure you get the cape in the tower. And then if you have this cape, you can jump to the other side of this other continent. And funnily enough, you wouldn't really know it without like getting the hint from somebody. I don't even know if anybody gives you this hint, but there's a special item in the second tower, which you just assume is the same tower. I did anyway, because they look so similar. But if you go up to like the fourth or the second, I think it's like the second or third level, and there's like 6 levels to this area, and you just like randomly look around on each individual spot. Eventually you'll find the dew yarn, which is used later on in a very like late game town to make one of the best armors for the prince or the princess there. So that's interesting. But that's just sitting there in that tower randomly, which I didn't know about without having to look at the guide. Now, I used the guides a lot back in the day, too, so, I mean, I don't feel so bad about it. The game is a little cryptic in terms of what you have to do and stuff, and I'll get into that in a second here. But after that, after you get down to the next part there, you get to this town, and this is finally where you get the boat, and the world opens up to you, and that's really cool, too. Up until this point, the game has been pretty linear, but, you know, so in contrast to the original game, where the original game was very non-linear, and that was what was cool about that game. And then when the world opens up with the boat, then it's like, oh wow, it's non-linear again. So they kind of give you the best of both worlds there. Now, I mean, you do want to do certain things, but it's like, all you really need to do is find all of the seals, which are hidden away in different areas. One's like in a shrine, just randomly, you have to like look underfoot again. So that's one of them. There's one in an arena, in a kingdom, where you fight like a saber cat, to get that one. There's one in a lighthouse, which is like a whole dungeon. That's like the first one I did, which is probably not the first one that you should do, but I did it anyway, so there you go. There's one in Moonbrook once you get the jail key. Oh yeah, and then where do you get the gold key? Okay, so yeah, so then your first objective. Oh, and then there's one in like the final cave or whatever, and I probably missed one there, but your first sort of objective is to get the gold key so that you can get the jail key, so that you can really open up all the doors and find all the clues in order to get the other seals and whatnot. Now, there's also warp points in here where there's like they're like these whirlpools of warp or whatever, and then you like warp to different areas on the overworld, which can be really helpful to kind of help you fast travel around quick through the overworld without having to sail everywhere, because sailing takes a long time. And, you know, there's a lot of enemies and whatnot. But that's also a good way to get money. And you're going to need money in this game because the gear gets expensive. And you're buying for 3 people this time instead of just 1 person. So, yeah. And it's one of these things where the hero is always going to be more overpowered because you probably, you know, powered him up a lot at the beginning of the game. So he's always going to be a few levels ahead of everyone else. But, yeah, so they're always constantly behind and in your shadow, and I think that's why the meme about the Prince of Cannock being in his coffin constantly exists there. So, yeah, and because this game is actually significantly harder, I would say, than the original game. I believe I said in the original game that it wasn't really that hard, and particularly this game also probably fixes a lot of the problems of the NES version, which I've literally never played 2 through 4 of the NES versions, or the Famicom, Super Famicom versions of 5 and 6 or whatever. Never played any of those, or, well, 7 is just, it was on the PS1 again, yeah, so, yeah, not a big deal there. But I've never played any of the originals of those, so I don't really know what they changed. I don't think 5 and 6 probably changed a whole lot. I imagine those were relatively untouched, but I feel like 2 might have still had the thing with the stairs where you have to go into the menu and do all that. Hopefully it doesn't. I mean, I'm hoping not, but, you know, someday I will play the Dragon Warrior games on the NES there. I should probably fucking change out the batteries first now that I'm thinking about it, but my Zelda cart still saves, and my Zelda 2 still saves, so I don't know what the fuck's up with that. Those will still save, but my fucking Dragon Warrior games, which are like, you know, from the later 90s, it's like, and 2001. I mean, okay, not to jinx my Dragon Warrior 3 cart, because that is still going very well, so, and it doesn't have to save 2 different game files, meaning 6 different save slots, so hopefully it remains or whatnot. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it does. Dragon Warrior 3 is a long game. You know what I'll say about this game is it's really not that long. I mean, it's like maybe 20 to 30 hours-ish, and it's pretty short for an RPG. But I like that. I think that it's a really good expansion, like I said, to the original game. So the original game is like a 6-7 hour game, but this game basically doubles or triples that playtime by expanding the world and the areas that you can go to in the exploration. It's a very good expansion of the exploration, really, and they weave that into the gameplay. I feel like a lot of the stuff in the first game was pretty cryptic on how you get a lot of the essential items to progress. And this can be just as cryptic, I suppose, but there are a lot of hints in-game from a lot of NPCs that'll tell you about stuff like that, and they're kind of setting up a bunch of things, and they'll tell you. There is, like, one part where you have to, like, use the jail key to, like, go into a wall, like, in the same town that you got the jail key, and the jail key is something that you can only buy at this one shop where there's, like, a blank space on the shop, and then you have to buy it from there. So that's a little cryptic too. But yeah, you have to literally know to go into a wall, and like, I don't think they tell you about that. I think they tell you about that in the town, that like you need this, because he gives you the dam key, which is also in that the same town where you have to take the dew yarn to, which is like way far out, and you have to like take this whole river and do this whole big thing to get there. So it's like, then you'd have to go back or whatever. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they tell you within that town or something, but there's also a part where, what I like also about this game is now we have the keys or whatever. In the original game, keys were just keys. There was one sort of key, and you just carried a bunch of them, and that would get you into everywhere. But there's multiple kinds of keys now. There's a silver key, there's a gold key, and a jail key, and they keep progressively opening up new areas to you. And so you'll think about area, it's Metroidvania-esque, where you'll think about areas. And they do this in all the later Dragon Quest games too, but you'll think about areas earlier in the game that were locked by those doors. Like there's specifically 2 doors in the, 3 doors actually, in the original castle where you start, Middenhall there, that you need to unlock with each of the keys. The silver key, I think, unlocks so you can get to the jail. And the jail, once you get the jailer key, you can unlock a cell to fight an optional mini-boss to get one of the best weapons for the princess, or I think the best weapon for the princess. But you only get one shot at that, as far as I know, because I died, and then I went back, and the guy wasn't there again, and I couldn't get the thunder rod or whatever for the princess. I don't think it was, I don't know if it is the thunder rod. Anyway, so I couldn't get that. But the other one leads to like a treasure room. So yeah, but like, it's just interesting. So there's stuff like that throughout the whole game. Once you get these keys, you know that you can think about like going back and unlocking everywhere. Now, the one thing I will say about the exploration aspect of the game is that it takes a long time to get anywhere because of the boats, and now you can use these warp points, but they're not always the most convenient thing, and sometimes they take you to islands and stuff that you like literally can't get off of. So yeah, they're not always the most convenient thing. As soon as the next game, and I can't even speak for the NES ones, like I said, I never played those, but as soon as the next game, they start to give you a list of places you can like warp to, which is very, very handy, and that would have been really nice in this game. And I imagine the iOS version does have that, so that is maybe one advantage of playing the iOS version, or the mobile version, I should say. I just keep saying iOS because that's the one I have. Of the game is, don't knock that over. Is that potentially you can zoom to each of the areas, and that would make the game significantly easier because you have a return spell in this game, but all it does is take you back to the last town you went to, which is fine, but also there's always specific towns that you're wanting to get to, and sometimes if it's like you were in Rhone or something, and the last town you were at was like the town from the castle at the beginning of the game, that's kind of a long journey back there. So yeah, it just kind of it kind of sucks. That's like maybe my one complaint with the openness of the game now, is that they really expect you to go all over the place to get back to where you were, if you have to like travel between places and stuff. So yeah, that's maybe like the one downside, is there's a lot of backtracking, let's say. That's the word for it, backtracking. There's a lot of that in the game. Not that there's not a lot of that in the first game, but it felt like the world was all revolving around like the starting area. So it was like very easy. You would always go back to the starting area, the starting castle when you died, and then the world was easy to access from there because it was so small. It was the perfect size for like for exploring fast, you know. But this game isn't like that. There's a lot more to this world, and I commend that. I still think the world is really good. It's not like an open world where there's too much space in between and it's too dense. It kind of gets like that, but I do think that the world is dense with stuff to do and things to explore and new towns everywhere and like little extra things and whatnot. And I think that's really neat. Especially your first time playing through the game, it'll be fun to just kind of sail around and explore and find out where everything is, and kind of trying to figure out what's going on in the world, and trying to find all the seals and stuff. I think that's cool. I think that's a really great motivator and a drive to finish the quest. But that is the main bulk of the quest. Once you there's like 3 parts. The first part is you getting all your companions and getting the boat. The second part is you finding the seals, which is 5 or so like smaller quests to find these seals or whatnot, along with finding the keys and whatnot. And the third part is the finale, where you kind of brave your way. There's a volcano cave where you have to go there and get this evil statue and this and the charm. I don't remember which one you get at the volcano cave, but the charm takes the illusion away in the final castle, like I was saying. I don't remember what the evil statue does. Oh, I think it makes the cave appear, so you can get there, so you can go through it, so you can go to Rome to begin with. Now that final cave before Rome is riddled with just like so many, there's like pitfalls everywhere, and there's like really tough enemies. That is a tough cave. You can get one of the best weapons in there, which is the Thunderblade, which is really awesome. That was where my save file corrupted. I'd gotten through most of that cave, and I was just about to get through there, go to Rome, and just beat the final boss, and that would have been it, but didn't happen, unfortunately. So, but that's the third part of the game. It's just kind of your journey there, and then trying to defeat the Hargon or whatever. So yeah, it's a pretty well structured game. It's linear, but it also gives you a lot of explorative elements, which I like. Like the first section is linear, then there's a really explorative section, then there's another linear section with you. But even like the dungeons and stuff are explorative. So I mean, like, you never really lose that explorative aspect, and you could definitely spend a lot of time exploring that final cave there, leading to Rome. So I would say yeah, you're definitely going to be exploring that one for a while if you don't have a map. So, but I think maps are really helpful in this game, and it's kind of a lot easier. Oh yeah, and then like to get the gold key, you have to go to this like random town and then like follow this dog, and then the dog gives it to you or whatever. Like you dig, or you like look underfoot where he's like digging at or something, and it's like that's kind of random too. So it's like, you know, there are some cryptic elements to the game. I was like, I don't know, I still like it a lot. I think the dungeons are really good. They're not too long, but not too short either. So that's cool. I like the new items. I think there's a lot of great new items. Like, there's like a wizard's ring. It made me think of it was this is the dungeon music. So it's like, in one of the first towers, you get this wizard ring. And that's like one of the only ones I think you can actually get out in the overworld. There's like this slot mini game where you get slot tokens like everywhere. Not really later in the game, but you get them a lot like earlier in the game. You get a lot of slot tokens, and you can get a gold card, which makes 20% off every item in the game, which is pretty helpful. I don't think I've ever gotten that. I maybe did get that one time or whatever. But also another thing you can get is a wizard's ring, which the wizard's ring, they're like limited use, but they do hold on for quite a while. But you can restore MP with it, so that's pretty helpful for the healers and whatnot. Like the princess and the Cannock there, Prince of Cannock. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So that's neat. I like a lot of the there's a lot more variety in the weapons and stuff. There's like, yeah, just a lot more stuff, and you get helmets this time, which is good because I don't think they had that in the last game. Something I noticed is even if you don't have your sword and shield equipped, it'll still show that you have a sword and shield equipped. So I thought that was a really cool touch in the original game, and I don't know. I mean, I kind of get why they didn't do that in the other games, but it's like the other games are more advanced. You would think that they would definitely have done that, but like no, it's strange that that's how that is. But anyway, maybe because you have more characters and whatnot, and they always wanted you to have like a weapon in your hand. I guess that makes sense. Anyway, so yeah, so there's just a lot of more variety in that. There's even like I said, the side quest to like go and get like those items to even make that like best armor. Like most of the best stuff is a side quest. Like that thunder rod is a side quest. You know, you kind of have to know to go and do that. There's you can get the Lodo's gear again. If you go to Dragon Lord's castle there, where his castle was in the original game, and he's got his descendant there, which you don't have to fight him this time, but you can get Erdrick's sword there. You can get Erdrick's armor, or Lodo, Erdrick, the same thing. You can get Lodo's armor in that final dungeon, leading to Roan there, and you can get his helmet somewhere else. I don't remember. Did you get his helmet? I don't remember. I think you get his helmet somewhere. Yeah, but anyway, so you get all of that, and that's pretty cool. So you can see, yeah, there's a lot of more variety and stuff in the items and the weapons and whatnot. So I think that's cool. And they have to have a little bit of variety too, because you know the princess can't equip all the swords and stuff. She can equip like wands and knives and stuff. So yeah, so it's a little bit different. Anyway, there's like a fur coat too, which is like $65,000 or gold or whatever. Which is like the most expensive thing in the game. It's like the best armor for the prince and the princess there. But I would never grind that much because that'd be a lot to grind for. But there's like some of the later game items is like the heal shield, which like casts a heal spell, like heal more, I think, so like mid heal when you use it, and the Thunder Blade will use like do a similar thing where it'll like do a spell if you use it, kind of thing. So that's cool. There's like, you can use items in different ways in battle and stuff, and like people tell you about that in the overworld. I think that there's a lot more personality to the overworld, or to the residents of the towns and whatnot, and they give you like lots of really cool hints about the world, because there's more stuff to know about the world in this game in particular, which is pretty cool. There's a treasure just hidden out in the ocean, and you can dive for it, but you have to know like pretty much specifically where it is. Otherwise, you're gonna be like looking for it for a while. But it's the Echo Flute. Once you take the treasure to the guy in the town where you got the boat, he'll give you he'll open it and give you the Echo Flute, which helps you track down the seals, which is very helpful. So there's that. So that's cool. So it all is just a really good expansion, all in all, to the original Dragon Quest there. You have a party now, you have better items, and a more expansive world, and you have a boat now, and there's, the quest is very similar to the original. Find these things to get to the final dungeon or whatnot, but, like, it just feels like a really good sequel to the original. Now, I prefer the original. I still like the original better than Dragon Quest II, but I still think Dragon Quest II, there's a stigma with this game where it's not held as one of the better Dragon Quest games, because there's so many other great Dragon Quest games, and I understand that, but this game is still definitely one of the better Dragon Quest games, I would say. I like it a lot, and I definitely like it a lot, because, you know, of course I played it as a kid and whatnot, and that's probably part of it, but it's like, I think it still holds up. It's really a fun Dragon Quest game. It's just a lot of fun to grind and go around and, like, explore the world and whatnot, I think. Now, there might be something to be said about the difficulty, perhaps, and that's why I haven't finished the game quite as much, because the game ramps up in difficulty like super hard. Actually, the game really never is not difficult, just because the enemies always keep you on your feet. I kind of like that. I like that it gives you the challenge to really have to step up to the plate and know how to use your spells, and or just maybe grind or whatnot. And, you know, I mean, the game doesn't require that you grind like super a lot, but like it'll certainly help. I know specifically I was at a pretty low tier set of levels by the time I had gotten to that cave and whatnot, so it was more challenging, and I think that's kind of how I wanted it. And I didn't have all of the best gear, but I had some of the best gear, so yeah. But that's what I'm saying, is like, it's more challenging in the original game, so that's either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you like it. So there's also an expansion of the enemies, now that I'm thinking about it. A lot of the classic enemies, like the robot enemy, you know, the like cyborg-looking robot enemy that they would use in a lot of the later Dragon Quest games. That one, I believe, started here. I don't think he was in the first game. They have like the giant troll guys, not like trolls, but like the giants. They're basically giants with the clubs or whatever. Those guys are here, which is awesome. There's like the liquid metal slimes. They have those in the final area, so that's pretty cool. The liquid slimes, you know, those are new too, and they poison and stuff, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of new enemies like that, you know, just like a lot of the classic Dragon Quest enemies actually kind of started here, like, which is cool. Still no like King Slime or anything. I don't know if you get that until like Dragon Quest 4 maybe, because Because I don't even know if the King Slimes are in Dragon Quest 3 now that I'm thinking about it. But it's been a while since I like completed Dragon Quest 3. It's been since high school, so that's like 10 years ago. Yeah, it's probably been like 9 years. Actually, you know what? That doesn't seem like that long ago now that I'm thinking about it. It was probably like 9 years ago when I actually beat Dragon Quest 3, finally, after all that time. But this one I actually beat as a kid. I didn't get Dragon Quest 3 till like kind of later on. I mean, I had it before, like, I believe like Dragon Quest 8 or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. But it was certainly a game that I played a lot back then. I'll talk about that when I get to the Dragon Quest 3. My point is that I obviously had this one as a kid, so I played it a lot as a kid. But it definitely took me a lot longer to beat than the original Dragon Warrior because it was a lot harder and it was more difficult and there was a lot more to see and do. And but I liked it. I liked how it expanded upon everything. Like I said, so you know, more music, better, like there's themes for each, like I said, each time you get a new party member, and they play the original overworld theme when you're in that area of the world, the Dragon Quest 1 part. So that's pretty cool. And it's cool to just see how kind of everything has changed in that area too. But yeah. It's I think it's a really great sequel, and I think it's one of the more underrated Dragon Quest games, and I think it definitely deserves more attention. So, yeah. I like it a lot. That's about it. Yeah, the music's really good, obviously. I guess that's about all I have to say about it. I think Dragon Quest 2 is a really solid sequel to Dragon Quest 1, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Because it's a great game. Is it the best Dragon Quest game? No, but it's definitely within the top 10 Dragon Quest games, which isn't really hard because there's like 10 of them that are actually like playable to us. Top 5 maybe? I don't know. It's hard for top 5. Let's see. So you have Dragon Quest 8 and 11 in there. Probably Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Quest 5. That's already 4 slots. Number 5? Maybe? Yeah, I could potentially put it at number 5 or 6, because if Dragon Quest 3 or 7, like, I like Dragon Quest 7. It was really tedious because the PS1 version. So I'm hoping the 3DS version fixes that. Anyway, so like, yeah, it might be within the top 5 or 6 Dragon Quest games there. It's really difficult because there's so many good ones. It's like the Zelda games where, well, less so with the Zelda games because like every Zelda game is actually really good. Except for like Skyward Sword, and like maybe Twilight Princess is like lower on the list or whatever, just because. But yeah, but like with the Dragon Quest games, it's like there are some really good ones, and there's like, yeah, these are pretty good, and then there's like one bad one, which is 6. So, but Dragon Quest 2 is not one of the bad ones. It's one of the, yeah, this is pretty good. You know, it's like right in the middle there of the Dragon Quest games. Just because there's so many better ones. But it's a really good game, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you play the first one, then you should play the second one. You should just kind of play the games in order, I would say, is worth the experience of going through them in order. And then once you played that, you can play Dragon Quest 3, which is probably even better than Dragon Quest 2, and like, objectively maybe better than Dragon Quest 1, but you know, I would still prefer 1. But I'm interested to see what I think of Dragon Quest 3. I already started playing it a little bit. My plan was to beat Dragon Quest 2 on this car ride I just took But I couldn't do that, obviously, because that was the day that my save file corrupted. So what I ended up doing instead was just starting Dragon Quest 3. So I've already started it. I'm having fun, so I'm interested to see how that holds up in comparison. So yeah, Dragon Quest 2, really good. Until next time, this has been JZNES saying keep classics, stick around for more reviews, underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.